Welcome to Why We're Fans. I'm Duran, and as always, I'm joined by my co-host Gennaro.
In all of our episodes, we cover the past, present, and the future of all your favorite NFL football teams.
We love hearing your stories, talking the NFL draft, and reminiscing about the good old days.
If you like the same, be sure to subscribe to this channel and like this episode. And leave a comment below if you want to answer any of our questions.
Follow us on Twitter to stay up to date on our latest interviews. And like we always say, win or lose, we're all fans. Enjoy this episode.
And welcome back to the show. Welcome, Duran. How are you doing today?
Good. We finally got a Buccaneers fan on here, and it's perfect timing. I mean, we started this before they were on their hot streak. Actually, I think they had a losing record when we talked to a Saints fan in their division. So
right.
We got the Super Bowl champs in here today. I mean, they're the exact same team as they were last year. So the bar's been set, and I think we'll have some good stories and some stuff to talk about.
Yeah, I'm excited for this one. Like we said, we got a Buccaneers fan. So without further ado, let's all welcome in Gene Thomas. Gene, how you doing today, buddy?
I'm doing good. Thank you guys for having me on. I really appreciate it. I just started following you guys, and I thank you for the opportunity. This is exciting. I love football. Basically, I love my team, of course, but I can talk about any team, whether it's the Niners, the Cardinals, just whoever it is out there. I can talk about any of them, and I love the game. I mean, it's fun. It's kind of a microcosm of what we really would what the world should be like. I mean, yeah, you have your differences, but we can always come together and talk about something that's a common goal or understanding that we all have. So I'm always about that.
Oh, hell yeah, man. Respect that so much.
Yeah. I feel that way at work.
Yeah.
At work, once it's football season, it's like everyone kind of has something to talk about when you're walking past your coworker and things. So football, especially for me, brings everyone together.
Yeah, all bets are off.
Yeah, especially when fantasy football came into the play as well. It's like you cannot I'll draft Russell Wilson if he's there, and he's my team's rival, and I'll draft him if he's there because he's a hell of a quarterback, and he's a fantasy guru when it comes to that. So that's something I love. But Gene, if you want to go ahead and let us know where we can find you, and any type of work that you're working on, whatnot, any type of shout out, plugs, whatever, have at it, man. Your time.
Yeah, you can reach me at Buck What You Heard on Twitter. You follow me, I'll follow you back. I always talk football. I am part of Bucks Report. We are an organization that just kind of covers Buccaneer football. There's a lot of different flavors, whether you like betting or sports betting. If you're into a more serious X's and O's like real Bucks talk, or Buck What You Heard, where I'm here to drink a beer and use profanity, and I'm probably the most unprofessional show out of the whole network. So that's what I do. But yeah, I'd love for you guys to go out to my YouTube channel, Buck What You Heard, hit that like button, subscribe. It's just going to do nothing but help me. My show is fan centric. I appreciate the listeners. I don't care what team you're with. I've had people from Cleveland, people from Minnesota, New England, people just drop in, say what's up. They'll give their thoughts. And it's a safe place where they're not going to get attacked for what they believe, because I think we need more of that in sports. I think sports has gotten so aggressive where people are like, it's tribal, where my team you can only root for your team, but it should be something where we're all having fun.
Yeah. Man, I can't help but not look at that shirt, man. Antoine Winfield Jr., man. That's so awesome. I love that.
From Smack Apparel right there, baby.
I love that, man.
Beautiful.
Especially I like that he got flagged for it, and his whole team were just like, yeah, that's cool. We don't care.
Because it's iconic. It's one of those moments that, in sports history where I don't know what teams you guys are on or you like, but for me, there are just those iconic moments, like when Derek Brooks, when the Bucks won their first Super Bowl, Derek Brooks has a pick six and he's running into the end zone, or Rondé Barber gets a pick six on Donovan McNabb, and they close down the dump in Philadelphia, and that's just the end of that stadium. It's just iconic things like that happen. It's exciting. And I know a lot of people were upset because, Winfield was taunting. But when you look at the first game and this guy does a backflip in the end zone, and then he's throwing the peace sign as he's running past you. I couldn't get mad at him because you know what, the Bucs didn't stop him.
Yep.
I could not be mad at that. This guy, he showed the kind of skill he has, but ultimately at the end of the day, here it is, the roles are reversed, and Antoine Winfield Jr., a rookie, he comes out here and does what he does. To me, that's iconic. There's nothing infamous about it. I just thought it was a cool play that historically will sit in the annals of Buccaneer history.
Of course, you got the shirt already, and if you could dish it out, you should be able to take it. I mean,
Absolutely.
that was a revenge play. It's the Super Bowl. Winfield timed it out perfectly, where the penalty, there wasn't really a consequence as far as score or field position. So I had no problems with that at all, being a neutral fan watching the game.
Was he in the running for defensive player or defensive rookie of the year?
No, I don't even remember his name even being mentioned, but just his consistent play. But I expect that Bucs players just don't get the recognition like a Levante David or like a Vita Vea or Devin White or some of the players, because of the history of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They're
even goes back to Rondé Barber too, because Rondé Barber, I mean, I don't think that his numbers retired for y'all, right?
No, I think he's in the Ring of Honor. I don't think he should have been in the Hall of Fame. I mean, statistically, what I would like for you guys to do, homework here, if you guys get a chance, go back and look at him statistically against a lot of other players that play the same position. I think he pretty much created the nickel corner position, and to where it is, and where the way people are utilizing that position nowadays. I think he had a huge part in making it what it was.
I'm looking at his stats right now, just on Pro Football Reference. They have him listed stat-wise as number 26th corner of all time. So, I mean, there's guys that are, down there with him that are in the Hall of Fame. But, hey, he definitely deserves to be in the conversation. I mean, back-to-back right here, they have Richard Sherman and Rondé Barber. So, I mean, that's just the type of guys that he's around. Aeneas Williams.
If you look at his sacks, look at his sack totals.
Yeah.
And it just
like 40 something, or no, 28, right?
What are you showing for a sack? And I'm sorry, I'm unprepared. I didn't think we would be talking.
No worries.
Totally
no worries.
But
right now, so we weren't
but his sack totals, if you look at his sack totals and just how he played the position at that time, I can't think of anybody that played the way he did, and the way he transitioned to safety on the back end of his career. I just thought that, there should have been something more for him for what he's accomplished.
Yeah.
I actually enjoyed his career more than his twin brothers, to be honest with you.
Oh yeah, me too. Yeah. He had 28 career sacks, which is actually 9th in team history. So he's up there with some of the defensive ends and defensive linemen there. And he's the only player in NFL history with 40 interceptions and 25 sacks.
Do you see his pass deflections?
That was a stat.
His pass deflections are 197. That's crazy.
Yeah.
The
guy was a monster.
Yeah, that's impressive.
Right. Well, we can go on about players all day, but we brought you on to talk about your fandom. So yeah, man, we want to know, man. I'm not okay. Before we get started, actually, I got one more question. What do your fan base call yourselves?
Oh, just Bucs fans.
Bucs fans? Okay.
There's some people of different. With losing, it kind of splinters your fan base.
Okay.
And and I know I may get some flack for saying that, but you have different factions. I'll say factions throughout Bucs Nation. So the one faction that I found that's really uniting everything is the Buckaholics.
Okay.
I don't know if you've ever heard of them. If you go out and Google them and look at them, nonprofit organization. They have a chapter in like 26 states, one in the UK and one in Mexico. So
that's cool.
Basically, wherever you go, like New Orleans, Los Angeles, they're going to do a huge watch party. I mean, they bring everybody together. Los Angeles, you should have, just at the tailgate, well over 1,000 Bucs fans, and I'm not exaggerating that.
So, how did a Buckaholic like yourself get on board the Buccaneers pirate ship? Where did it all start?
Being from Tampa.
Okay.
And my uncle who was just a huge sports fan, when he found out that, Tampa's getting a team, he just was so excited, so hyped up about it. And it was contagious. And getting to go to games with him, and at that time it was Houlihan Stadium, and metal bleacher seats, and just the team wasn't good, but it was fun to go to games, and it just became tradition. And then I go off and I go to college, and it's I come back, and about the time I'm coming back is when Tony Dungy is coming in as the head coach, and they're really building up a team, and the team's buying in, and the community's buying in, and it was just an exciting time. It's being a Bucs fan is a labor of love, and I can genuinely say that, because there are teams that, like ours, that you just don't win, like the Cleveland Browns. Just go through spells where they don't win, or there's mismanagement, or you have a horrible GM, or a GM that's horrible and he brings in horrible coaches, and it's just a mess. There's really no direction. And so we've been fortunate in my lifetime to see two eras where they got it right, and they fixed it, and they did everything they needed to do to right the ship and get them in a position to win. But throughout that, you've got a lot of losing. You go to a game, it's fun to go to the game. The game is exciting. It may go down to the end, the Bucs don't win. And it's always been, okay, next year's our time. And I think with the age of social media, it's a lot more, I don't want to say critical, but it's a lot harder when you go from 2010 to 2020 without, with social media being a big presence, and the team is not winning, and then they finally win. It's been more of a challenge recently, because everybody wants to win. Everybody wants to be right. And so just being a Bucs fan was a challenge, but when you win that Super Bowl, it all makes it all worth it.
Yep. Those down seasons, once you finally win, that's what makes you sticking with the team and being a fan forever pay off.
100%. Yeah.
How many generations of Bucs fans do you guys have in the Thomas family? Yeah, I know you said your uncle. You got you. You have any kids or nephews?
Yeah. My granddaughter, she's a Bucs fan. Her grandma's a Bucs fan. So and my son, he's a Dallas fan for whatever reason.
I'm a Dallas fan, so
I failed as a parent, I guess. I don't know.
or maybe he just messed up in choosing. I mean, you guys have won 2 before we've won 1.
And I feel bad. There are times where I do feel bad for Dallas fans. I just wish Jerry Jones would go away, because I really don't see your organization winning a Super Bowl until after he's gone.
Yeah,
he's too much of a negative influence. And but I will say this: I am happy that he admitted that he was wrong about Jimmy Johnson.
Yep.
That's a step in the right direction.
Yeah, took long enough.
Yeah.
Right.
So living in the area, did you know anyone that had season tickets? Were you a regular going?
I was a season ticket holder. Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, hell yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
So I was a season ticket holder till 2008. And it just, with my job situation, I just couldn't get to games like I wanted to. And so it was just it was like, okay, I got to kind of step aside and take care of financial responsibilities.
Yeah.
You have a kid, and you have to, make sure that home is taken care of. So that was, it was fun. But it was fun the time that I had it. I mean, you get to know the people around you, and there's always somebody cool that you get to hang out with. And I've always had a good time.
Yeah. I always like to ask the season ticket holders, is there any recommendations if we were to fly out to Tampa Bay for a game? Is there anything we should know? Seats, where to sit, where to avoid?
Section 143.
143?
By the pirate ship.
Yeah.
Now, I'm going to tell you this. If you're going to sit by the pirate ship, do not freak out if they get in the red zone, they score a touchdown, or they kick a field goal, because they will fire the cannons.
I like it.
So and so where I sit at is right below the pirate ship. So we were at the game, and it was the Bucs versus the Falcons, and this loudmouth guy, he was just running his mouth, blah 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 blah, in the first quarter, and he just wouldn't shut up, and he was half drunk. And the Bucs get to the red zone, boom, boom, boom. And this guy's like jumping he jumped over the seats into the next section because the pirate ships were firing the cannons. It was hilarious. It was worth it.
So one thing I always wondered, I see you got some ink on you. Do you have a Bucks tattoo? There it is.
There it is.
Is that our first one, Duran?
I think that is. That's our first
tattoo. Oh, and another one.
The pirate ship.
Hey, hell yeah.
Awesome.
I love it, man.
Yeah. So like I said, it's a labor of love. I mean, I'm basically married to this team.
Oh, hell yeah. It's on your skin, man.
Any additions to the tattoo now that you got the second Super Bowl?
No, I'm just happy they won another one. And I got to actually see it. And I feel guilty because and if I could tell this story, Jameis Winston was the quarterback year before last.
Mm-hmm.
And when the Bucks were playing, Atlanta is the most hated team. Atlanta, and no offense to you, but Dallas and Atlanta are two teams I just despise. Mm-hmm. And it just, I'll go in. I can go in that a little bit later on. But last game of the season, and Tampa is driving, and they could score. They could go in and score. They've been winning the game, but Atlanta comes back. Jameis Winston throws a pick six, and that's the end of the game. And if the Bucks had lost any other team, I probably would have been like, oh, okay, they lost to whoever. Let's go on, let's get ready for off season. We'll get into this. I was mad. They announced, and this was, a little bit later on, a couple of months later, they announced Tom Brady's coming to Tampa, and I'm still mad. I'm mad. I am mad because the Bucks lost to Atlanta in a game they should have won, and so I'm like indifferent.
Okay.
So everybody's like excited. Oh, Tom Brady's coming to Tampa. And I'm mad because the Bucks lost the previous game. Oh, the Bucks got Gronkowski. I'm still mad because the Bucks lost that game against Atlanta. So finally, after the draft, they draft Tristan Wirfs, who's a guy that I was like, oh, he was on my draft board. This guy was like,
love that guy.
This is the guy we got to get. If we get him, this is just going to help our offensive line. And the Bucks drafted Tristan Wirfs. So you know what? I snap out of it. Okay, I'm good. But I'm not 100% sold. Tom Brady had the season before, the really bad, or not bad for him. Not a bad season, but bad for him. Mm-hmm. And so I'm like, well, let's see what he does. And Tom Brady comes in, he plays. They lose against New Orleans, and they win some games. And then they play the Chargers. And Tom Brady completed a 2-minute drill that I've never seen anybody in a Buccaneers uniform ever complete one with such surgical precision as what he did. And at that point, I'm on board.
Yeah.
Just like snap me out of it. So I feel guilty because I was not hyped up with everybody else at the beginning of the whole process because I was still mad because the Bucks lost to Atlanta the year before. And that's just who I am. I guess this is kind of how I'm wired. I hate Atlanta. And so, after that, it's just like, man, this team can win. I think they can win against anybody with Tom Brady in there. He changed the locker room, and, he and I know that sounds like a cliche, but I've never seen anybody come in and hold players offense and defense accountable and get people to want everybody to play for him like Tom Brady has done. It's just incredible.
He wanted everybody to play for the win, it seemed like. I mean, this guy illegally broke into Brian Leftwich's house, man. Like, he wanted to win so bad.
Exactly. So, I mean, this guy is about winning. I mean, he's the consummate professional. And I feel like what he's brought to Tampa now will just continue to help this team even after he's gone.
Yeah, everybody bought into TB12, and that was seen like right away. And that was awesome. And I remember hearing an interview, I think it was on the Pat McAfee show, with his quarterback coach saying, like, man, we didn't even scratch the surface with our offense either. Like, if we had 8 more weeks, our offense would have been that much better. So I thought that was awesome. But that was actually one of the questions I had, is how you felt when Tom Brady got in town. Yeah. And after hearing about, your hatred of losing to the Atlanta Falcons with Jameis Winston before LASIK, how that went. But
and again,
you need a W that day.
Well, and what people don't realize, and it's taken me a while to finally admit it, was that Jameis Winston is who he is. The guy he's a dynamic player. He can make plays with his legs, but when you check up from the neck up, he's not a good decision maker. And I finally came to that conclusion, like, hey, this guy, he can make plays, he can do this, he can wow the crowd. You've got your ESPN play of the day that you can see on you can go to ESPN and watch it over and over again. But ultimately, consistently winning games, consistently putting your players in a position to win, consistency is just something that he's really lacking. And so to me,
yeah.
And when I look at what Tom Brady's come in and done, our offensive line, being able to get the ball out that fast, and you're not having to stress your offensive line where they're having to hold blocks longer. I mean, just little things like that he's done. It's just incredible.
Yeah, like that's one of the things that a lot of people liked out of Michigan, is that he had it between the ears. And honestly, it showed that Jameis Winston didn't have it at the time. Maybe a year behind Drew Brees helped out a lot. But going back to the Bucs, actually, you said that you went to games with your uncle.
Mm-hmm.
You remember your first game that you went to?
It was against the Detroit Lions. And I'm trying to remember. God, it was so long ago. I was mad because I had to carry the cooler in. Back at this time, they didn't have the food industry had not like hijacked everything. You could bring a cooler in, you could bring beer in and take it to the bleachers, and you have a family event going on.
That's awesome.
It wasn't like now where you can't bring a purse in. You're lucky if you can get a purse in, or you have to have one of them bootleg bottles that you unscrew the bottom so you could bring your liquor or whatever in now. But before it was like
$20.
Exactly. It's like, yeah, you bring your stuff in, you set up camp with your family, and you just have a good time. And it was affordable back then. And those were the times that I remembered. And the people from Green Bay, people from Detroit, people from Chicago, people from Minnesota, everybody was pretty cool, when I was younger. But as I got older, and I'm like, man, these people are assholes. A Green Bay fan, why are you guys infesting our stadium? And attendance was bad because the Bucs weren't good, and these guys traveled well. This was a winter vacation for a lot of these clowns to come from Wisconsin or Minnesota or Chicago, and come here to Tampa and just, ruin my day. And that's, as I got older, that's kind of what it came down to. But just the experience of being there, I mean, was exciting. Getting to see Walter Payton, getting to see Barry Sanders, getting to see Randy Moss, getting to see Dante Culpepper, just players like that. To me, that's exciting, and you can't take that away. Once we were very fortunate to be in the division we were in to get to see some of these Hall of Fame players, and without we know now are Hall of Fame players that were playing at the time. So it was really exciting to get to see that. And I don't want to call myself a football purist because I'm far from it, but just to get to see some of these guys was incredible. Because people talk about Emmitt Smith is the greatest running back ever. I'm sorry, but Barry Sanders is. And Barry Sanders walked away from the game in his prime. And I'm telling you, he could have easily amassed a whole lot more yards than what he did. But, he walked away from the game.
That's actually really funny. I hate to cut you off, but we just had a conversation this weekend, me, Duran, and a bunch of our family, about who's the best player that you've seen, or your favorite athlete, and you naming the players that are his dad, my uncle, and his mom's boyfriend, Uncle John. You straight up just saying the names that you just said. The jealousy I have that you saw these guys play is amazing, and that your first game is the Detroit Lions where Barry Sanders played. That's awesome. Was that a home game, or was that an away game?
That was a home game. That was a home game.
Okay.
We were poor, and we weren't going any away games. That wasn't going to happen. But
have you been to an away game before?
Yeah, recently I've gone to a lot of, being at KU, University of Kansas. I graduated in 95.
Rock Chalk.
Rock Chalk Jayhawk. And I was dating this girl, and she was a huge Chiefs fan. So I felt like I was cheating on my team, but I did go to Arrowhead. I've been to Denver. I've been to Mile High. I've been to some stadiums. I've been to quite a few stadiums actually. Just getting an opportunity to see them. But there's nothing like having a pirate ship in your stadium.
I bet, man.
Yeah. Do you remember your first Buccaneers jersey?
Doug Williams, number 12.
Doug Williams. Okay.
Yeah, he's got a lot of history behind that name. I mean, like, what was his first black quarterback to be drafted in the first round, as well as the one to be the MVP.
Yeah, it was so funny when Washington won that Super Bowl. I was just in shock. I was like, man, this guy was in Tampa, and look what he's done, and it's just crazy. And just there's a lot of history. Tampa is, if you get a chance to come to Tampa, there's three things you got to try. First thing is a Cuban sandwich. Got to have a Cuban sandwich. Have it pressed all the way. Got to have a Cuban sandwich.
Yep.
The next thing, deviled crab. Deviled crab is like a delicacy here. And I don't know of too many other places that you can really get it like how we have it in Tampa. And then the last thing is boiled peanuts. Boiled peanuts and Mountain Dew. And I'm not a soda drinker myself, but boiled peanuts, they have the Cajun spicy boiled peanuts and Mountain Dew. Incredible. So wow. So it was so funny because like they used to have them at gas station. Boiled peanuts used to be everywhere in Tampa. So my uncle would get boiled peanuts for me and get me Mountain Dew. And, at the game, I'd just be shucking shells and throwing them on, eating. And that's what I remember about games, is just being able to do that. And, those days are gone. But if you get a chance and you want to experience what Tampa is, Cuban sandwiches, deviled crab, and boiled peanuts are the top 3 on my list.
I'll keep that in mind next time we get there, man.
Of course. Awesome. Of course. Do you remember what brand of jersey that was that Doug Williams was?
I want to say Riddell. Was it Riddell?
Okay, yeah.
Whoa, that's going way back. I love that. It could be
Riddell, Russell.
Oh, yeah.
It may have been Russell. It started with an R. It was either Riddell or Russell, one of the two.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. I love that. Do you have like I see that you have the hat there, but any kind of apparel or any kind of memorabilia that's as Duran says, the holy grail of it all?
An autograph of football.
An autograph.
The holy grail or I've got, my parents have it because they don't trust me with anything. But Doug Williams was at a gas station and he was signing t-shirts. And there's this t-shirt that says Doug Williams, Bayou Bullet, where when he played with Grambling, he was known as a Bayou Bullet. And I've got an autographed Doug Williams t-shirt that my parents have, and eventually I'll get it sooner or later. But yeah, that's probably one of the big time things. I'm not big on memorabilia. I think your experiences are more valuable to me than some of that stuff is. Personally, I'm more of a music person. So, I mean, if I got like a autograph from a musician or something like that, I think it would probably hold more value. But just my experiences with sports and stuff like that, I hold it in a different way. I think my memories and just how I enjoyed a certain time is a bigger factor than stuff like that.
So your man cave is more filled up with the music and musician side than it is with the football side at the moment, right?
We did have somebody stay in the room that I'm working out of right now. We had somebody that was staying with us until they got their own place, and so I'm kind of transitioning back. If I get with you guys again, you'll see I'll have all my Buck stuff up here, but it's kind of a blank slate right now, and I'll eventually get it back to where it was.
All right, there you go. Definitely.
That's it for me for how it started, G. If you want to move on, it's up to you.
All right, yeah, for sure. So before you go ahead and tell us, me and Duran like to we have a little tally board going up right now. Duran's winning, I'm going to be honest. We want to know your favorite player before you tell us. We want to take a guess first. Duran, I'm going to go and let you go.
I'm just going to say you guys won't guess it, but
yeah, I kind of had that feeling. I mean, as far back as I go, my favorite Buccaneer of all time is Derek Brooks. So I have a feeling it's going to be a little bit older player than that, but we'll find out. Who you got, G?
Yeah, so I wanted to be a homer and go with John Lynch. And then me and Duran had a conversation before about Warren Sapp, and I was like, but I'm gonna go with underappreciated guy who we just talked about. I'm gonna go with Rondé Barber.
All right, yeah, it was James Wilder. He's way farther back.
Yeah, okay. Tell us about James Wilder.
Yeah, I love all the guys you mentioned. I've met Derek Brooks. I've met Warren Sapp on a couple of occasions, and John Lynch is one of my all-time favorites. Funny story, and I guess this is perfect. This is a perfect timing to kind of talk about this. You as a Niner fan, I was working at the Verizon building downtown, and I was feeling lightheaded, so I was like, okay, I'm going home. Well, that was just a ploy to get off of work. So my girlfriend at the time, she called me, hey, you need to go and pick up the kids from daycare before you go home. So go get the kids, and we stopped, and we're going by Pepin Root Stadium. And I'm like, you know what? I'm feeling good. It's nice outside. The kids need to experience this. I'm doing this for the kids. So we all go up there. We go to Pepin Root Stadium, and the Bucs are doing practice. And it was about the time they were finishing practice. And, I've got my son. He's maybe 1.5. And my other son, he's 5. So we're standing there watching everybody come by, and John Lynch walks by, and we sit there, and I talked to him for a few minutes. He took a picture holding my son. He's still in his pads and stuff, holding my son, took a picture. And that's probably one of the greatest moments ever. And I've always loved John Lynch after that. John Lynch was just like amazing. He could do no wrong to me. And that's one of my favorite jerseys, actually. I do have a John Lynch Bucs jersey that I wear from time to time on the show. So awesome. that's my John Lynch story.
That's an awesome story.
I don't know if you have that picture printed, but that might be the holy grail item. I mean, your son.
It probably could be.
Yeah.
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 That's awesome.
I'm looking at James Wilder right now, just his stats. And he had a 2-year stretch where combined in those 2 years, he had almost 4,000 yards. He had 3,900 yards in 2 years. That's combined. And just rushing, he had a 1,500 yard season and, of course, a 2,000 yard season. So
he's a huge back too, man. You see that 6'3", 225.
Oh, I didn't see that. No.
Yeah,
Wow.
He's a huge back out of Missouri.
So I'm sitting in the strip club one night, and this guy comes up to me, and he's getting a refill on his glass, and I look at his hand, and his hand's like dwarfing this glass, and then I look up, and I'm like, it's James Wilder. So I was like, hey man, how you doing? And he's like, good man, how you doing tonight? And so we started talking. He sat down. We're talking about the Bucs. We're talking about the State of the Union with the Bucs and how they are. And I bought him a drink. It was so cool because I was like, because we're both Scotch. I'm a Scotch drinker when I'm not. This is the weekdays. I don't really delve into Scotch too much during the weekdays. But at that time, when we were together, we was like, okay, I got you. And I got him a Scotch. We sat there and we talked for about an hour and a half. And it was just, he is just an incredible person. And, they say that you don't want to meet your heroes because you'll be sadly disappointed. And I look at my dad, and I look at James Wilder, and there are a couple other people in there, but I've never been disappointed. And this guy, he's incredible. His son, James Wilder Jr., I know he's playing in the CFL. Great human being. I'm really happy with where he's progressed, and he's just another good person. And these are the kind of things that I remember. These are highlights of my life, I guess you would say.
Yeah.
His son went to Florida State, right?
Yeah, he went to Florida State. And him and my nephew played together at Plant High School.
Okay.
Right. Is there like one James Wilder play that kind of stands out to you?
No, the way he ran the ball, you were just excited. I mean, I don't know. You have and I don't know like what era you guys really started following football. Like for me, I know San Francisco, Colin Kaepernick and how he played and made plays with his legs and led the team to the Super Bowl. For Dallas, the play that they call back the Dallas versus Green Bay and Tony Romo. Tony Romo he is a player that just kind of transcended, especially your era and previous eras. He's probably one of the, if I could say Dallas, of all the quarterbacks, Tony Romo is probably one of the best quarterbacks you guys have had in going back to after the Super Bowl era.
Yeah.
I can't think of anybody that I could really put up against him. I think Dak Prescott is still writing his records right now, so I don't know how to really compare the two, but just when you look at his body of work, Tony Romo is that guy. James Wilder is another guy. When I look at what James Wilder did, his body of work in Tampa, I look at, there was Eric Rett, there was Warwick Dunn, there was Mike Allstott, there was Doug Martin. I mean, you've got Ronald Jones, you've got, Leonard Fournette for the small period of time he's been here. Cadillac Williams. I mean, you've had all these different running backs, but I go back to James Wilder and look at him as probably one of the most complete running backs that I can remember, because every week you were excited to see him play and he didn't let you down.
Yeah, and you just named, Doug Martin, Cadillac Williams, Warwick Dunn. Out of all those guys, James Wilder leads Tampa Bay Buccaneers all-time rushing yards. He has the best single season rushing as well. So, yeah, that's a guy that I didn't know about. That I might have to go back on the old YouTube and check out some of his highlights and things.
Incredible.
Like that.
You will not be disappointed, I promise.
Nice. I always like to know, and I think we'll get a good answer here. Is there a player that you feel like is a little bit underrated in Buccaneers history that you kind of want to get? Who is it? Oh, Lavonte David.
Lavonte David.
Yeah. Okay. He's been through the ups and downs really with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and he's one of those guys who's always been a really good player. Kind of the centerpiece of that defense. And
always in the NFC South, you always heard about Luke Kuechly. Always heard about Luke Kuechly.
Yeah.
But if you get a chance, I want you to compare their stats. Lavonte David and Luke Kuechly. Lavonte David to Earl Thomas. Look at their stats and just see kind of where they are. And you'll be shocked. I think what really hurts Lavonte David is the fact that the Bucs weren't winning. You don't talk about, with Pro Bowls are a popularity contest with, ran by fans.
Yeah.
But, if you talk to the players and what the players see, Lavonte David, his name has always come up. If I could tell you right now, one player that I was probably the most proud of that he got a Super Bowl ring, it would be hard between Ndamukong Suh, Lavonte David, and Mike Evans. That would be a hard choice for me to say one of these guys deserved it more than the other two, because of what they've been through in their journey in the NFL.
Yep, I agree. Great linebacker. And I think you said Earl Thomas. Did you mean the linebacker from? You meant the other Thomas from Carolina.
Right? No, I'm sorry, for Legion of Boom. I said Earl Thomas. Bobby Wagner. There you go.
Okay, yeah. Yep. No, I totally agree. Lavonte David, he's a stud. He is a real stud. G, anything else for favorite player?
No, nothing favorite player. I mean, you asked the question I wanted to ask, and I'm glad that we got that, man. But Lavonte David is underrated superstar.
Yep. So we're going to move on a little bit. We want to know your favorite coach in Buccaneers history.
My favorite coach. I know a lot of people aren't going to like this answer, but just for me personally, I love Raheem Morris.
Oh, really? Okay.
I love Raheem Morris. He was probably too young. He was definitely too young to be a head coach, but the fact that he got, you go from 2010 to 2020, Bruce Arians and Raheem Morris were the only ones with double-digit wins during that time period. So just what he was able to do with that young team, Josh Freeman, Gerald McCoy, LeGarrette Blount, Doug Martin, let's see, Aqib Talib was on that team. They had a nice squad, but they didn't have any veterans. And I think that's what really damaged that team a lot. And then 2011, when Raheem was fired, you were looking at a team that they had no veterans, but they had a ton of injuries. So that played a huge factor as well. But he was one of my favorite coaches to watch. And again, I hope he does get an opportunity to coach again. I've always thought of him as a good coach. But I know a lot of people disagree with that decision, but he was one of those guys that I really loved him. Love what he did. Most people will tell you Tony Dungy or Sam Weish or John Gruden. Hate John Gruden, by the way. And,
he won with Tony's team, man.
It's not so much that. I want everybody to look at his body of work in Tampa. He came in and won the first year. Now you look at how he dismantled and got rid of all these other players. Simeon Rice was never the same. And he brought in the players he wanted. When he finally got his team assembled, they weren't competitive. They just weren't competitive. So I understand why there is the nostalgia to like John Gruden, but when I look at John Gruden's body of work, and if you guys know me, if you watch my shows, if you listen to me, see me on Twitter, body of work is huge for me because you could start out, and I hate the term elite and I hate the term the GOAT. There's only one GOAT. You're the greatest of all time. There's no baby GOAT. There's none of that other stuff. There's only one player, greatest of all time, or for whatever position or whatever sport you're talking about. So to me, when I look at what some of these players have done in their careers, I can't really comment on a player, and this is not a cop-out. I can't comment on a player if they're still playing the game because I don't know if injury is going to affect what they do, if their love for the game changes. There's a lot of things that can happen that totally kind of twist around everything that's going on. So 100%, I understand why people say that. You need a narrative, you need storyline or something to discuss. But at the end of the day, it's what's your body of work.
Yeah.
What did you get done here?
Do you think maybe Tom Brady is the exception to that rule? I mean, we know his
Tom
career.
Brady, I don't see anybody realistically right now. If you lay out everybody's career right now, where they are and where they're going, their trajectory, nobody's going to accomplish what Tom Brady has done in the free agency era. Which you have to keep in mind. We're talking about free agency where you're cycling out wide receivers. People, you're not paying. I'm not getting paid enough. I'm going to go to this team. And your teams look totally different than where you started the year before. So in the free agency era, what Tom Brady has accomplished, nobody, and I can say this, we can roll this back 50 years from now. Nobody will ever accomplish what Tom Brady has done. Nobody. There is just I just do not see it in the free agency era and the way people are handling salary caps. I just don't see it happening.
I agree with that. Where would you put Bruce Arians in this ranking here? I mean, I know you like Tony Dungy. You're not a John Gruden fan, but is Bruce Arians kind of slowly creeping towards that number one spot?
Yeah, realistically, Bruce Arians is that number one coach.
Yeah.
You asked me who my favorite was personally.
Yeah.
I would say my favorite is Raheem Morris. But if we're looking at, statistically and body of work, I look at Bruce Arians. Wherever Bruce Arians is gone, he's won.
Yeah.
He came to Arizona and made Arizona a contender. I mean, just everything that he's done, it's just been like gold. I mean, the guy's he's amazing. He's a motivator. I know a lot of people he may have his detractors, but at the end of the day, what he did in Indianapolis, what he did with Pittsburgh, he's just done consistently. Arizona, Tampa, he's just continually gotten better.
Yeah, he seems to be a player's coach. I mean, I hear old players today saying Coach BA, like he has a bar in his trunk of his car, man. He's one of our favorites. But back to Raheem Morris, I'm not too sure if you got to listen to Peter Schrager and Sean McVay's podcast, Flying Coach. He was actually on there with Mike Tomlin, and it's pretty good. It's a pretty good show. Pretty good listen if you want to listen to Raheem more.
You know, I had spoken with somebody that interviewed Monty Kiffin, and they were talking about Mike Tomlin when he was in Tampa. I don't know if you guys know that Mike Tomlin was in Tampa. And they didn't want him to leave. They did. Monty Kiffin did everything he could. They were like, "Hey, we can't let this guy get away. We got to keep him here." And it just, I've actually met Mike Tomlin. I met him at International Mall, which is kind of cool too. He, you know, Tampa is a city where you never know who you're going to run into. Run into Derek Jeter, run into, you know, just different players. People you run in. I run into Roy Jones in Ybor City. So I mean, it's one of those places. You know, if there's a Super Bowl or there's a big event, you'll see the stars out there. But you know, getting back to what we were talking about, I believe that, you know, what you see from some of these players, I mean, it's exciting to have that in Tampa.
Yeah, I was actually going to bring up from 95 to 2003 in this coaching section. I mean, you guys had the dominant defense during that time, but the coaches on defense there, Tony Dungy, Herm Edwards, Rod Marinelli, Lovie Smith, Mike Tomlin. I mean, all those guys ended up becoming staples in the NFL and head coaches.
Right.
Yeah. So,
and, rest in peace, Sam Weish, incredible coach. And I think that a lot of this gets missed. And I don't know if you guys know this, but I believe that he's the one that kind of formulated all this, you know, for the Bucs winning their first Super Bowl, because he was the coach when you had Mike Allstott, John Lynch, and, you know, some of your other players. And then when Tony Dungy came in, they just kind of, you know, it just added that extra little effort in there, and it definitely made this team better than where they were, but they just continue to elevate.
Yeah.
And the one constant that I will say was Rich McKay. Rich McKay, general manager for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, was incredible in what he was able to accomplish, because under him, it was Rondé Barber was under him, Warren Sapp, Mike Allstott, Derek Brooks. I'm trying to think who else. Brad Johnson came in under Rich McKay. There were so many players that they were able to bring in. Warwick Dunn, so many players that they were able to bring in under Rich McKay and put that team together was just incredible.
Keyshawn Johnson.
I have one more. I have one more question for Coaches G. You got anything else?
No, nothing for coaches. Go ahead.
Okay. One last coach that.
Go ahead.
You know, we talked about Sam Weish, and we talked about you know, we talked
Raheem
about John
Morris.
Gruden. Yeah, yep. Raheem Morris. The one guy that I can't say enough about is Bruce Arians. Bruce Arians. Yeah. Bruce Arians could have been very arrogant. He could have been very stubborn. He could have been very one-sided, but he kept that team together. He listened to Tom Brady. He listened to Byron Leftwich, and that was that marriage. That was a marriage that actually worked. Where before you had Bruce Arians and he wants to do, we're going to do this way. We're not going to use any tight ends. We're going to do this way. Because if you know Bruce Arians is not big on tight ends. But to listen to Tom Brady, to listen to Byron Leftwich, for them to all work together collectively to put that offense together, it just says a lot about that team and their body of work, as you'll hear me mention.
That camaraderie was awesome, man. Coach BA, man, he did something amazing with that team.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the last question that I had is, you know, a lot of people do say Gruden inherited that Super Bowl team from Dungy, but when I was looking back at the draft history, I mean, the best draft class with Warren Sapp, Derek Brooks, those were actually drafted before Dungy got there. Do you think that, you know, it was kind of passed down?
I don't like the whole Gruden one with Dungy's team.
Yeah,
because if you look at the players like Keenan McCardell, Joe Jurevicius, Michael Pittman, let's see, what's the other guys there? The tight end. There were a lot of players that they brought in. I have to look at the stat, but there were quite a few free agents they brought in that they mixed in with the regular players in order to make this all work. So Ricky Dudley, that's the guy I'm thinking about, the tight end, Ricky Dudley. I mean, you had a squad that they brought in and they mixed all this together, and John Gruden was the straw that stirred the coffee. Is what I look at.
There you go.
And it worked for him then, but his arrogance was his undoing because he got rid of all those players. He wanted his players in, and this guy cannot groom a quarterback. He cannot.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't. John Gruden has never in his career, you look at his body of work, again, there's that word. John Gruden has never been able to draft a quarterback, put him in his system, bring him along, put him together and make him elite or make him to where he's able to function in the offense. He's never been able to do it. He had Chris Sims. He had Bruce Gradkowski. Bruce Gradkowski was the other guy he drafted out of Toledo.
Rich Gannon. It seems like a whole bunch of older guys.
But Rich Gannon worked in his system because he was a veteran. So he didn't have to do too much with him. He just kind of had to tweak some things and make it work. But what I'm saying is this guy could not go out and draft a guy and say, okay, hey, you're my guy. I've identified you. You've got this skill set here. I want you to come in here. You're going to run my team. We're going to make it work. He's never been able to do that. He's only been able to work with veterans and make veterans work. It's the only way he's been able to do it.
Yeah, that's why I'm surprised when I'm just curious. Do you think that Tom Brady on the shop was talking about Derek Carr? Like, you're going to stick with this motherfucker? You know what I mean?
I don't think he was talking about the Raiders.
You know what? I'm going to be very honest. I think it was, and this is just my personal opinion. I think it was the Titans.
The Titans. Okay.
Yeah. And I'm just going to put that out there. I don't think Ryan Tannehill is that guy. I don't think Ryan Tannehill's. You're not going to put the team on Ryan Tannehill's back and ride into the Super Bowl. You're not. I don't care if you have Julio Jones or it doesn't Don Julio. It doesn't matter. You're just not going to be able to do that. I mean, they've got some pieces. They got some pieces in Tennessee.
Yeah.
But you got to look at Buffalo. You got to look at Cleveland. You got to look at Kansas City. And another sleeper team that you guys need to be watching is the Chargers. The LA Chargers.
Yeah.
Close.
I like that team that you brought up too, the Titans too, because they have that coaching history. Yeah. He knows the head coach there. It's like, there is a connection there.
Look at John Robinson, who's part of the Jason Light tree. Jason Light, the Bucs GM.
Yeah.
Robinson came from Tampa and went straight to Tennessee, and they started making moves.
Yeah.
G, ready to move on?
Yeah. So I think we can kind of mention or kind of guess right now, but we want to know your worst coach, your least favorite coach for
Greg Schiano.
Okay.
Horrible.
Enough said.
Horrible. The guy was a scumbag. And I, I can say that. My co-host on Wednesday, he actually played under Greg Schiano. I think somehow, I don't know how it's true.
At Rutgers?
No, this was before.
Okay.
He was an offensive lineman. This was before Greg Schiano was at Rutgers. And I don't like Greg Schiano. I've never liked him. I've never thought he was a good coach. I thought he was a mediocre coach at best, and he has no business in the NFL. Just based on what he's done. I mean, when you rush the victory formation, who does that?
Yeah.
Seriously. Yeah. I mean, it was embarrassing. I mean, I had to do a podcast on that right after that happened against the Giants. And I had to talk about, you got to play to the whistle. No, dumbass, you're not supposed to be fucking rushing the victory formation. Who the hell does that? I mean, after he was gone, nobody else did that again. I don't know if you noticed that. Greg Schiano was horrible. He just was Mr. Toes on the line is what they called him. And the guy was atrocious. I don't have anything good to say about him. I mean, regardless of what he's done, I don't have anything good to say about him.
Yeah, because he didn't bring up their names. I was going to say either, him or Dirk. So.
Oh, Dirk Cutter's the idiot, but at least, he had that offense humming, to some extent. I think what hurt Dirk Cutter was his defensive coordinator. I think that's what really killed him at the end of the day. Was the defense was the liability when it came to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Because if you look at the Buccaneers 2016, horrible draft. I mean, you draft a kicker, and I think as of last year, they only had one player left from the 2016 draft, which he's gone. I think he plays for the Niners. Ryan Smith. Where is Ryan Smith? That was his name. He was the last guy, and I'm trying to remember where Ryan Smith. I swore he went to San Francisco. I'm trying to remember. Oh, the Chargers. Oh, he went to the Chargers. That's what it was. I don't know why I was thinking he went to San Francisco, but it's Cali, so I'm close.
Yep. West Coast.
Close.
And that was Ryan Smith?
Ryan Smith. Yeah. Okay. He was the last player from 2016. So in a roundabout way, getting back to my point.
Yeah.
Jason Light, that was his probably most embarrassing moment. The fact that he drafted a kicker in the third round, which people never let him forget.
Yeah.
I feel like he's overcome that at this point. But when I look at what he's done after that, 2017, 2018, 2019, 2020, basically the majority of that team was built from the draft. The Buccaneers Super Bowl team was the majority of that team was built from the draft, which is exciting.
And that's the way you have to do it.
Yeah, absolutely.
If you want it to sustain, it has to be through the draft. Yep. Not many people buy their way to a Super Bowl. So
it just doesn't happen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You end up with overpaid contracts and guys underperforming, and it's just inevitable. I mean, Dallas has been there plenty of times.
You know what? Again, Dallas is one of those teams. They've had talent. Like this year, they've got talent.
Mm-hmm.
What do they say? The best ability is availability.
Yeah.
And Amari Cooper is a guy that he should have been a Pro Bowler for years. But again, you can't keep him on the field. Sean Lee was another guy that was just a high quality, high motor player. But because of the concussions and the injuries he had, you couldn't keep him on the field, and he couldn't continuously help this team.
I love Tyron Smith. He hasn't been able to stay healthy. He hasn't been able to stay healthy for like the last 4 years. He hasn't done 16 games.
And that's my point, man. I mean, there are players like the Bucs have OJ Howard.
Mm-hmm.
OJ Howard, since he's been with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, has not played a full season.
Wow.
I believe in what he can do.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that this is a guy that could potentially be, something special, but you can't keep him on the field.
Yeah. Is he ready for training camp right now?
I think he's still out.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah,
but that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, he needs to be available at this time.
Yeah, it's not like that Russian Olympian who came back in 3 months, but yeah.
Yeah, what's up with that?
Yeah.
Steroids.
Yeah, what do you want to talk about? You should go watch the Netflix documentary Icarus, and then you'll figure it out.
Yeah, man. But we've got a lot of that going on.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we can we know about your favorite coach, your worst favorite coach, but one thing we like to go to kind of cheer everything up. What is your favorite moment of being, a Bucs fan? Whether it was a game.
My favorite moment of being a Bucs fan was the Tampa Bay Buccaneers versus the Philadelphia Eagles in the dump, and
finish.
Rondé Barber gets a pick six on that arrogant jerk front runner Donovan McNabb. Takes it to the house.
Yep, that was a great one. I can get on board with that.
I mean, as much as I love this moment, that moment will still, just because years before, you have to kind of look at the backstory here.
Mm-hmm.
Years before, the Eagles had just had the Bucs number, and for the Bucs to come in and win in the fashion in which they did, and again, I may be that old schooler get off my lawn guy because I'm saying this. That was just an incredible game, and that just set up everything for the Bucs going to San Diego and winning the Super Bowl. That's just how perfect it was. And to me, it means so much because when I think about it, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers went back to Tampa and won the Super Bowl at home. at home, and they won, and they beat a team that they had lost to, that everybody was picking them to lose to, prior to that.
Yep. Yeah, I'm watching the play right now. I mean, McNabb just staring down his wide receiver. I don't know which one. Oh, is a tight end. And of course, Barber playing everywhere but corner, everywhere on the field, makes the play.
If you
95 yards.
If you slow that play down, he baited him.
Did he bait him? Let me see if I can find a replay, because he's out of the frame once I started it. But yeah, of course, that's Rondé Barber and McNabb. I mean, we've seen McNabb do that plenty of times too.
McNabb was the old school Cam Newton.
Yeah,
I'm serious.
Okay,
they're both front runners, and they're all excited and happy and celebrating and talking trash when they're winning, but when they're losing, ain't no coming back from that if they're losing.
Yeah, a lot of people remember the Rondé Barber pick, of course, but he also had his signature sack in that game. He also had a forced fumble in that game. He also had 4 pass deflections in that game, which
he was playing out of his mind.
Yeah, he was playing out of his mind. So how you don't stare him down and realize where he is on the field is McNabb. That'll haunt McNabb forever.
Yeah.
As far as last year's Super Bowl goes, I mean, it's got to be a great memory for you guys. 31-9. You can see it right there in your shirt. But I mean, what I want to know is, how did you guys stop the Chiefs from scoring a single touchdown? And I kind of feel like, this is a copycat league. And I hope that there's, the Chiefs, they won their Super Bowl. So to me, I hope that there's kind of a blueprint to, if you have the right players and you run the right scheme, you can kind of stop these guys or slow them down at least.
Let's go back to the third quarter of that Week 12 game. Bucs shut them down. The Bucs made adjustments after halftime. The Chiefs scored 1 touchdown out of the third and fourth quarters. 1 touchdown. That was it. Shut them down. So from the third quarter to the end of the game, what is that? 6 quarters of football where they only scored 1 touchdown. That's what the Bucs did to the Kansas City Chiefs. It was already starting. And what you have to keep in mind, Ali Marpet, our starting offensive lineman, was out. Edwards, one of our starting secondary players, was out. Vita Vea, the heart and soul of that defensive line, who you really don't talk about, was not even playing against the Kansas City Chiefs, and they barely won that game. I was telling people, you know what? Vita Vea is coming back. And I was on a Chiefs podcast, and I was trying to explain to this guy, hey, Vita Vea is coming back. And he's like, oh, okay. Yeah, I understand. Yeah, I see what you're saying. Yeah, but, the Chiefs beat the Bucs in Week 12. Okay. I ain't going to say nothing else about it. I'm going to let it go. And those were pieces, those are components of the Buccaneers team in Week 12 that weren't available that you saw in that Super Bowl. And I'm here to tell you right now, when all that came together, if you go back and watch number 50 out of Washington, that guy is a freaking space eater. And that's just what he does. You look at Vita Vea and look at what he does. You don't run on Vita Vea.
You don't got to tell Duran twice. That was Duran's boy coming out of that draft. And he sold me on him. And especially that he's a California kid. You make us want to watch him even more so. And I mean,
just go back and watch his college tape. It's one of the most dominant tapes you could watch for a defensive lineman in college. But what got me curious is you said Vita Vea was the heart and soul, when I kind of feel like Sue did. You think he's that over Sue? Yeah. Let's hear why.
No. I love what Ndamukong Suh does. I love what he brings to the team. But if you look at Vita Vea on a consistent basis, he's collapsed in the middle of that pocket. He's gone. I mean, that's just what he does. Yep. And then you look at Ndamukong Suh, and again, I'm not taking anything away from him. I think what he's done over the past couple of years with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers is incredible. But again, this defense was not the same without Vita Vea. And once he came back, we saw it against the Green Bay Packers, and we really saw it against the Kansas City Chiefs.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, he seems like an unselfish player as well. I mean, obviously, take up that many blocks to open up lanes for blitzing linebackers of some sort.
Exactly. Yeah, he is a space eater.
Just from looking from the outside into the Buccaneers, or it seems like, Vita Vea is the younger guy, so it seems like Sue would kind of be mentoring him. But hey, it makes sense.
And I want to say this: I don't think we would have had the same success if there had been somebody else playing alongside Vita Vea.
I can see that. Yeah.
And Ndamukong Suh, what he brings to a team, just like I said, you hear me say the check up to the neck up. What he brings to a team is incredible. And just how he's helped this team progress, whether it's Levante David, whether it's Vita Vea, whether it's Shaq Barrett, whether it's JPP, guys that, consummate professionals, Devin White, Levante David, he's been instrumental in helping these guys with how they approach the game.
Yep.
And you can't put a statistic on that. You can't put a price on that. You have a guy that just comes in and that's what he does.
Yep. Well, not every year you get to win the Super Bowl or dominate the Eagles in the NFC Championship. So do you have a worst memory being a Buccaneers fan?
Probably Trent Dilfer throwing a pick six in the end zone against the Tennessee Titans.
What was that, a playoff game?
No, it's a regular season game. It was just embarrassing the way it went down. Well, you know what? I'm going to take that lie back. Jameis Winston pick six against the Atlanta Falcons. I'm going to put that.
I thought that was going to be your worst one off the bat.
You know what? Now that we're talking about it and I'm thinking it through, processing it, it was Jameis Winston pick six against the Atlanta Falcons, last game of his career. And I'm going to tell you what, I've always been a Jameis Winston apologist. I've been that guy that's been like, okay, let's get him a good running game. Okay, let's get him this. Okay, let's get him this. Okay, let's get him this. But you know what totally destroyed all that? Tom Brady came in, worked with his offensive line. Here's a guy in Donovan Smith, an offensive lineman, who's forever giving up sacks. And you've got Tom Brady here, whose decision-making ability is uncanny. It's like having a freaking offensive coordinator under center. So he's getting the ball out faster. You're not putting stress on your offensive line. He's making good decisions. He's not putting the defense in a bad position, and your team is continually winning. So when I look at what Tom Brady came in and did that I didn't think was possible, I have to go back to Jameis Winston and that last series against the Atlanta Falcons where he threw that pick six, and I was pissed off through the whole offseason. So I blame him.
Yeah, there's a theme here. I mean, that's came up one more time, and to me, how fitting is that's Jameis Winston's last play as a Buccaneer,
But if you remember, his first series as a Buccaneer was a pick six.
Was it? Yeah. I did not know that. Yeah,
it's the Tennessee Titans.
So I've always been the opposite. I haven't been a Jameis apologist. I've never really liked Jameis because to me, he's the type of player that when you have a lead, there's no guarantee you're going to win. He's the type of quarterback that is going to possibly put you in that position to lose a game. And I just never liked that. I mean, I know,
and I understand what you're saying. There have been times, and again, there have been times where Jameis Winston. There was one play against Atlanta. They had Jameis Winston sacked.
Yeah,
and he ran for 20 yards and got a first down.
Yeah. I know that one. Yeah, that's a great play.
I've seen what Jameis Winston can do, but when you look at, again, there's that word, body of work. When you look at his body of work in Tampa, wins versus losses, and I understand that, it takes a whole team to win or lose. I have to say that, Jameis Winston is not that guy.
Yeah.
I don't care who he could be under Vince Lombardi. It doesn't matter who he's under. He is who he is.
And I'll just say to the Saints, I know they're in your division, but they're in trouble this year, especially without Michael Thomas. I mean, Jameis Winston. I mean, it's I think it's going to get ugly there for
slant boys out until the fourth or fifth game.
Yeah. It sounds like a month or two, so somewhere around there. But One play that I wanted to bring up.
I want to mention this because this is Bucks related.
Yeah.
You can thank Sean Payton for that. Sean Payton, they had beaten the Bucks in game one of the season last year.
Mm-hmm.
And they decided to bring them out and they tried to run up the score. That's where Slant Boy got hurt. And yeah.
I didn't know that.
He played through that injury the whole season. If you research that, all he had to do was, bring Taysom Hill out or whoever he needed to bring out. He could have brought him out. But
Murray.
Yeah, they decided to continuously run the ball and run trick plays and try to get cute. And Michael Thomas got hurt.
Wow.
I don't wish injury on any player. I don't wish injury on any player, but I can tell you this, what happened could have been avoided and it should have been avoided, to be very honest.
There you go.
One play that I'm pretty sure you remember being a Buccaneers fan for as long as you've been, but the Burt Emanuel no catch. And this is something this is something that I just
my ribs, man.
Sorry, this is something that I just learned about today. I mean, this was before my time, but I'm looking at it. I'm a Cowboys fan. I've seen the Des Bryant no catch, and to me, this was way more clearly of a catch than the.
It was egregious, wasn't it?
Yes, and of course it was versus the greatest show on turf, the Rams at the time.
They shut them down too.
Yeah, and it should have been definitely a catch that put you guys in the red zone, which I think at the time I forget who the running back was. Was it Allstott?
It was Warwick Dunn and Allstott.
Okay, so I mean, in the red zone with those two guys, it was pretty much a guaranteed touchdown at that 100%. Time, but the Bucks missed the Super Bowl because of that play, which if you even look back at it and you hear the commentators, they're like, okay, yeah, it's clearly a catch. I don't know why they're challenging this. Referee comes out and it's another story. Do you remember watching this one?
I cried real tears, bro.
Money.
I'm not going to throw my conspiracy theories out there.
Yeah.
But I will say that something just isn't right.
Mm-hmm.
Something was not right in the Kool-Aid on that one.
Yeah.
But again, ultimately a couple of years later, the Bucks won it all.
Yeah.
So that wiped away all of that. I mean, I was not a huge Burt Emanuel fan. Burt Emanuel was one of those guys. He was a receiver. I think he was on the opposite side of Andre Rison, if I'm not mistaken, where he was at Atlanta, and he wasn't really a good receiver. So when you ever bring the second receiver in as a primary, you're asking for trouble, because Andre Rison, Burt Emanuel, everybody's keyed in on Andre Rison, so Burt Emanuel is going to eat. It's just how it works.
Yeah.
And you as a Cowboys fan, I know you remember Alvin Harper, who was a Florida native.
Yeah.
Alvin Harper was on the other side of Michael Irvin, the playmaker. So Alvin Harper's putting all these ungodly numbers. And then, you know what? Tampa's deciding, you know what? We need to get Alvin Harper here. And then this guy trips over a squirrel and hurts his big toe and he can't play. And, just the rest is history.
Yep.
And that's just kind of how it was. So, I mean, the Alvin Harper story kind of opened my eyes to paying attention to the quality of players that people are bringing in.
Mm-hmm.
Because we've had opportunities to get players that could come in and turn a team around. But at the end of the day, I've seen players get brought in based on hype. So,
yeah. No, I've seen the same thing. I've seen the same thing. Height, weight, everything.
Mm-hmm.
Gee, I got one more for worst memory. If you got anything else. Yeah. Okay. This is one that I know you remember. It's the Bo Jackson wasted pick.
Oh God.
I mean, this also was before my time, but I know about this story even. I mean, Bo Jackson, he got drafted by Tampa Bay Buccaneers, but he felt like there was an underlining thing where they kind of sabotage his college eligibility. They sabotage
his baseball career. Hugh Culverhouse and company.
Yeah. So do you remember this pick happening? Okay.
I listen, I don't want to speak ill of the dead or the dead family. But Hugh Culverhouse was horrible. Mm-hmm. I want to say this because it's like a love-hate relationship here. Hugh Culverhouse brought football to Tampa.
Mm-hmm.
I cannot stop loving the man for what he did. And at the end of the day, after the Tampa Bay Buccaneers lost to the Rams in the NFC Championship in '79, you always thought there was that glimmer of hope that Tampa could get back there and do something. But if you look back, take a step back and look at what Hugh Culverhouse was doing, he was actually lining his pockets. He kept players in there. Yeah, he got some players. He wasn't trying to build a team that, would compete for a Super Bowl or playoffs or any of that. He was good with them losing. He was good with it. And I'll argue that with anybody that doubts what I'm saying. That's just kind of who he was. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't until the Glazers came in and bought the Tampa Bay Buccaneers that you really saw an organization that really wanted to win. They wanted to win. The Glazers did. And so, I remember that game. I remember the story about Bo Jackson, and it was frustrating because here you go. You've got one of the greatest players to ever play the game. And, physically a physical specimen that he was, and they messed around with his career. So he ended up not coming to Tampa. So, I understand him and just knowing the ownership, like I know the ownership, I don't have a problem with him doing what he did. I can't be mad at him because I would have probably done the same thing.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. G, I'm ready to move on to future expectations. Get Gene's hopes up a little bit more.
So we want to know about the future expectations going into this year. I'm gonna go ahead and shoot it right first.
Go ahead.
Record prediction. Do you got one? Are you not the one to predict records?
I'm not a big record predictor. Okay. I will say this, that with the Buccaneers bringing everybody back, the expectations are very high.
Mm-hmm. Super Bowl or bust.
It's Super Bowl or bust. That's kind of where we are. And I believe, barring any injuries, I do not see, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers not in a place where they can be competing for a Super Bowl.
Yeah, I agree. I think they're going to win the division. I mean, I think their division the competition has kind of dropped a little bit there. So I have no doubt that they'll be in the playoffs and pushing for it. And I mean, Tom Brady, this same exact team in the playoffs, I don't think, they're nothing to mess with. They'll be right in the mix with it. G, want to go over anything with the draft picks?
Yeah, I'm just curious. Out of the draft picks you guys had, I don't think you guys had a whole bunch, right?
Joe Tryon in the first, Kyle Trask second, Robert Hairsty in the third, Jalen Durden in the fourth. I mean, he got some fifth and seventh rounders too. Is there one guy you're kind of the most excited for?
I'm super excited about Joe Tryon.
Okay.
Yeah.
The reason being Joe Tryon, because of COVID, he didn't play last year. Okay. I think he dedicated his off season to getting better, learning snaps, learning technique, working on technique, perfecting technique. He's a guy that I'm really excited to see. First and second day of camp, I've heard nothing but good things about him. He actually caught a pass, and I think it may. I'm not sure who it was against. It may have been Blaine Gabbert, but he caught a pass, and he's balling out like we expected him to. Mm-hmm. The beautiful thing about this, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers have brought everybody back. All their starters are back. Yeah. They've really addressed depth. So all these players, these young players, these kids have an opportunity to sit back, understand the speed of the game, understand the technique and philosophy of the game, and put themselves in a position to really make a difference next year. So players like Kyle Trask, players like Joe Tryon, players like Jalen Darden, who's another guy who I believe is going to be a special teams monster. These are guys that I'm really looking forward to seeing what they're going to be able to accomplish when they're playing.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Yeah, one guy that I was looking at for sure is Jalen Darden, later round receiver from North Texas. He's kind of on the smaller side. I want to say he's like 5'7", 5'8", maybe, really thin, but he was a shifty guy. He was very he got a lot of his touches from like the screen passes and whatnot, and that could be something of Tom Brady's. I'm not saying he can't throw the deep ball.
He's a speed in space guy.
Yeah, he is.
There you go.
So like if he needs somewhere where he can facilitate space, Brady's a guy that can find him in that space for sure. Even when it comes to something underneath, that's a specialty, So that he's really I'm really excited to see him in that Buccaneers uniform, as well as like you said, Joe Tryon. He was a effort guy at Washington. Didn't really flash anything like big at you, but
I think he was a little bit young, to be honest. I think he was young. Based on having this year off and just working on technique and stuff, I think this is going to be a great opportunity for him to pick up the speed of the game, because you're looking at him as more of a depth piece, not as somebody that you will require him to go out and make plays. But he's a guy that, hey, we need to bring him in. Let's get him some reps. If the Bucs are winning, hey, let's get him out here. Let's get him some reps. In certain situations, possibly you may bring him in to try to get him some reps, just so he's eventually picking up the speed of the game to where 2022, he can really come out and show what he can do. And I want you guys to keep in mind, I think the Buccaneers have the largest coaching staff in the NFL, where they have multiple practices going on. This gives you an opportunity to see all these players.
Multiple reps.
Yeah, absolutely. There are times where, and I've watched camp. I've been to camps on many occasions where you've got guys sitting around holding their helmets on their knee, holding their shoulder pads, whatever. But now you've got guys that can be out here and they can get exposed. And hey, wait a minute, let's get him in with the number ones. Let's get him in with the number twos or whatever, get him in there so we can get him a little bit of exposure and see what he can do. Yeah. And that's what I really appreciate about this coaching staff, is they're trying to get the most out of the roster that they have. Not just, okay, we know who our starters are. We know who our backups are. Let's get some guys out here and see what they can do. Maybe they can, push some of these guys to possibly get more playing time.
Yeah. This is why I'm so excited about the preseason. I hope to see a lot of Joe Tryon in the preseason. Anybody that I watched and I followed really hard in the draft, even though they got drafted, to other teams.
Right.
I watch hard, and I like to see how they do. So, for instance, I like to see Tryon do good, and I want to see Jalen, do something really well. And I wasn't really high on Kyle Trask, but he's got nothing but great reviews from Coach BA, and that's high praise.
And the beautiful thing about this, there's no pressure on him.
Exactly.
You've got Tom Brady, and you've got you've got Blaine Gabbert right behind him. Mm-hmm. So this is kind of how.
And they even brought back Griffin, right? Brian Griffin.
For now, I see that. Patrick Mahomes had no pressure on him. Alex Smith was that guy. And he just kind of sat back. You didn't hear after he was drafted, you really didn't hear his name until that next year when he was able to come out and show what he could do. Mm-hmm. So this is kind of what I'm hoping for Kyle Trask. Yeah, they've shown him, and I know somebody said that he didn't look good today. He's a rookie. I'm not expecting him to look good. Mm-hmm. We could be all the way to game 4 or game 3 of the preseason. Mm-hmm. I'm not expecting him to look good, but I'm expecting him to get those mental reps. I'm expecting him to get the speed of the game up. I'm expecting him to do whatever he needs to do.
So be that clipboard quarterback right now.
Exactly. Next year, when it's his time, when they're tapping him on the shoulder, hey, let's get out here and see what you could do. He can go out there and do what he needs to do.
There you go.
Yeah, I totally agree. As far as free agents and guys that kind of left and retired, I don't see many guys that are going to be affecting the roster on that end. So I'm just going to move on. G, I got one more question. You got anything else for this?
Yeah, I'm just curious. Is there a player on the team right now that you can predict or want a payday or an extension with the team?
Chris Godwin.
Godwin.
Okay. Oh yeah.
Chris Godwin is a guy. I mean, Bucs fans have been.
What about Vita?
Oh yeah, and I'll get around to him, but in a second. Yeah. But when you look at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, I look at their wide receiver room, and I think Bucs fans have been spoiled by this, because we go back to from 2014 to to now, you've always had Mike Evans. Mike Evans has always been that security blanket. Mike Evans played on the other side of Vincent Jackson. Mike Evans has played with a lot of other wide receivers, Adam Humphries. Mike Evans has played just the different players that he's played with. He's played with Deshaun Jackson on the opposite side. And ultimately, the Bucs have always had a nice wide receiver room going back to, I would say 2015, 2016, maybe. And at the end of the day, that's our expectations. That's what Bucs fans are expecting. And I love Chris Godwin. I love Antonio Brown. I love especially Mike Evans. Mike Evans, one of the guys I mentioned earlier in the show, is a guy that, hey, I'm excited that he got a Super Bowl ring. He's done everything in the community that he can do. Yeah. He's shown, 7 consecutive 1,000-yard seasons. Nobody's ever done that.
Yeah, no.
Never been done.
Wow.
And that gets missed because and I'm not saying anything about Madden. Madden is imaginary or whatever you want to call it.
Yep.
But that's kind of disrespectful that they've got him like ranked at like the, I don't know, number 11th or 12th wide receiver in the NFL. When you look at what he's done in his career, would you look at what he's done? The fact that he just broke 1,000 yards, keeping in mind that he was injured with a hamstring and he still did what he did. The fact that Chris Godwin did what he did. I mean, these are things that, you kind of overlook when you look at this team. But Chris Godwin, to me, is very important to this team. And I would like to see him eventually, I'd like to see him stay a Buck if that's at all possible.
I don't think it is, but
yeah. And I was saying, I said that this offseason. I mean, Chris Godwin was the guy that I said is not going to be a Buccaneer, when we're going into regular season. And somehow, some way, Jason Light was able to make that happen. So
salary cap is a myth.
Yeah. You know what? And my friend Michael Pless from Real Bucks Talk, shout out to Real Bucks Talk.
Yeah.
That's his thing. Salary cap is a myth. I mean, look at Mickey Loomis over in New Orleans.
Yeah.
General manager in New Orleans. Mm-hmm. And to me, the salary cap is a myth.
It's kind of caught up to them. I feel like.
Yeah, but you can only kick the can down the road for so long.
Yeah, exactly.
I think they've been doing it since like 2010.
Yeah.
And I think it finally caught up with him.
Exactly. And if Drew Brees wasn't at his retirement year, it would have been a whole shit show.
Yeah, it really would have been really bad.
Yeah. My last question is, I was just looking over, I look over the ownership, the coaching staff, everything like that. And, I'm pretty sure you're happy with everything that goes there. But one guy that I wanted to point out here was Sheldon Corliss, former linebacker, who I definitely remember being a linebacker there.
Sheldon Corliss. Yep.
Yeah. He's been a head scout. He's the head of football operations, and he's had a hand in both of the Super Bowls that the Buccaneers have won. I mean, do you think he deserves a little bit more credit than most people think of him?
Oh, absolutely. The guy's a genius. I mean, he's got an eye for talent, and what he's been able to accomplish in his tenure in the front office is nothing short of amazing. I think a lot of these guys, Mike Greenberg, that works with Jason Light, another guy that John Spytek, one of the scouts for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. These are all names you never hear, but at the end of the day, they have a huge part to play in the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So it's exciting to hear you even talk about him. I'm excited for what he's done and what he's going to continue to do.
Yeah, I agree. And if you just look at the draft classes and the players that he's brought in, I mean, all these guys are essential part of the Super Bowl that you guys just won.
100%.
Yeah. And I was very impressed to see him there. And I always like to see former players that kind of move up in the organization and become where they are. I mean, he was an undrafted free agent to all of a sudden becoming a starter for the Buccaneers, to a Super Bowl winner, to, head scout to it's pretty impressive. And I think that's a guy that deserves a little bit more credit.
And those are the people we really need to talk about, people that have made the most of their opportunities to come in and make changes and be difference makers.
Yeah, totally agree. That's it for me. G, anything else?
Yeah, that's it for me as well. Gene, thank you so much for coming on.
Real quick, timeout, real quick.
Yep.
I don't know if you guys want to choose, but I need one of you guys to step up to the plate here for me.
Let's hear it.
All right. So I've got something I do every time I'm on a show or I have a guest on a show. It's something I do.
Okay.
And it's basically I have 10 questions, 1 minute. You answer these questions, I will get you a Smack Apparel t-shirt. Go out to smackapparel.com, check out their shirts. I don't know if they've got 49er shirts, they've got Dallas Cowboys shirts. So we're not at a loss for shirts here. We just need a person. We just need one of you guys to step up and say, okay, I'm going to be that guy.
G, you want it?
You're representing, hey, you're repping your show. You're repping the WWF here.
I'll take it. G don't want it. I'll take it.
Go, Duran. Go ahead.
I'm ready to roll. I'm ready to roll.
And just keep in mind, remember this, Duran. There's no wrong answers here.
Okay.
All right. So here we go. And the first question is, let me get this up here. Okay. Will Rogers be a Denver Bronco 2022?
No. No.
All right. Next question. Amari Cooper, CeeDee Lamb. Who you got?
CeeDee Lamb.
Mac Jones or Cam Newton starting quarterback?
Cam.
Mac Jones.
Tua.
Shut up, G.
Tua, boom or bust?
Who was it?
Tua, Miami.
Bust.
Cliff Kingsbury on the hot seat, buy or sell?
Buy.
Taysom Hill or Jameis Winston? Who's your starting quarterback?
Jameis.
Bills or Browns? Who has the better record?
Bills.
Garoppolo 2022, buy or sell as a 49er?
Sell.
Titans will win their division, buy or sell?
Buy.
Atlanta or Carolina? Who you got as the better team?
Carolina.
Boom, you got this with 8 seconds to spare, my friend.
Let's go.
You are going to win a Dallas Cowboys Smack Apparel t-shirt. What I want you to do, hit me up on my email with your size, with your address, and tell me which shirt you want. Head out to smackapparel.com, pick out your shirt. I got you covered, my friend.
Perfect. And you can find all of Gene's information below, including the Smack Apparel link, his YouTube, his Twitter, everything. So go ahead, click along and follow along with Gene. I mean, everything that he said today just proves how much of a fan he is.
Yeah, I love the show, man. You have a new fan, and I'll be following you guys for now.
We appreciate it, man.
Thanks again. You can follow, again, like Duran said, all of Gene's links are going to be below. You can follow us at Twitter at Why We're Fans Pod, and YouTube. Hit that, smash that, share, subscribe. Why We're Fans. You can follow me on Twitter at G_Munez WWF. Duran at Duran WWF on Twitter. Duran, anything else before we sign out?
That's it. We appreciate it, Gene. You're the man.
Hey, man. Thank you guys for having me on. I appreciate you.
You got it. Have a good one.
Have a good one.